Have you ever wondered why some men, without flashy cars or thick wallets, still have women completely captivated by them? It's almost frustrating. You work hard, provide stability, maybe even treat her better than anyone else, and yet she seems more drawn to the guy who doesn't have it all. Why? Because women don't just want money. They crave something deeper. Something even Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, understood over 2,000 years ago. And in this video, I'll share 6 things women secretly love far more than money, guided by the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius himself. These aren't guesses. These are truths. Miss them, and you'll stay confused in love. Master them, and you'll have the power to deeply connect with a woman's soul. So before we dive in, do me a favor, like this video. Subscribe if you're serious about understanding love through the lens of philosophy, and watch till the end because what you learn here could completely change your love life. In the ancient city of Rome, a young Marcus Aurelius, not yet emperor, sat beside his mentor, Junius Rusticus. He wasn't learning about war or politics that day, but about the inner workings of people, of relationships, of emotions. Rusticus leaned in and said, "A man may own half the world, Marcus, but unless he owns himself, he is poor in the eyes of those who see truly." That moment planted a seed in Marcus's mind. Decades later, as emperor, he would write Meditations, a private journal filled with truths, one of which is this: very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking. And this applies not only to personal peace, but also to how women see you. Because contrary to popular belief, the richest man doesn't always win the heart. The deepest man does. Let's explore 6 of Marcus Aurelius's timeless suggestions and how they reveal what women truly crave more than money. 1. Self-mastery over self-indulgence. Have you ever been in love so deeply that even the sound of her voice could calm your storms? Maybe it was a late-night conversation, a simple smile she gave you after a long day, or the way her hand slipped into yours like it always belonged there. Think back for a second. Do you remember how she made you feel? Now here's the painful truth: sometimes love like that slips through our fingers, not because we didn't love enough, but because we didn't know how to control ourselves when things got hard. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Darius. He loved a woman named Alina, not just casually, but with his entire being. She was drawn to his ambition, his laughter, the way he held space for her in a crowded world. But over time, something began to crack beneath the surface. Darius was passionate, yes, but he was also reactive. When things didn't go his way, he'd lash out. When he felt insecure, he'd grow cold. When he was afraid of losing her, he tried to control her. Alina never wanted his money. She wanted his presence, his patience, his peace. But Darius hadn't learned the most important lesson a man can ever learn in love. You must master yourself before you can ever hold space for someone else. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You see, men who can't control their emotions will always be slaves to them. Tell me honestly, have you ever said something in the heat of the moment that you regretted for years? Have you ever pushed someone away, not because they were wrong, but because you couldn't manage your own storm? That's what happened to Darius. He didn't lose Alina because he didn't love her. He lost her because she could no longer feel safe in his uncontrolled energy. Now imagine if instead of reacting, he had paused, breathed, asked himself, what would a strong man do right now? That's the core of self-mastery. And women, they can feel it. They can feel when you're grounded, when your presence is calm, when you don't let life shake you like a leaf in the wind. They can also feel when your smile is masking chaos. Here's the twist though. Darius changed. After losing her, he found philosophy. He started reading Meditations every night, learning to observe his mind instead of being ruled by it. And though he couldn't bring her back, he became someone she could have never left in the first place. So I ask you right now, who are you in your love story? Are you the man who reacts or the man who reflects? Have you ever lost someone not because you didn't care, but because you didn't yet control your own flame? Self-mastery isn't about being perfect. It's about being conscious. And when you walk that path, when you own your emotions instead of being owned by them, that's when she'll look at you not with fear, but with trust. Because in a world full of men who explode, shut down, or spiral, you become the rare one who stands like a mountain, and that is worth far more than money. 2. Purpose over possessions. Have you ever tried to impress a woman with what you have? But deep down, you weren't sure who you were? Maybe you bought her gifts, took her to nice places. You showed up with things in your hands, but couldn't help wondering if she truly saw you. Let me tell you the story of Marco. Marco had a good job, a stylish car, a wallet that could handle almost any dinner date. He met Elena, bright eyes, soft voice, a woman who saw through the layers. At first, it all seemed perfect. She smiled at the dinners, laughed at the jokes, kissed him like she meant it. But slowly, something shifted. She started replying to messages slower, stopped asking questions about his day, and when Marco finally asked, "What's wrong?" she gave him a look that still haunts him to this day. "I don't know who you are. You do so much. But what do you stand for?" That hit Marco like a brick. Because, truthfully, he didn't know. He was living by routine, working for money, buying things, hustling, but not living with purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything, a horse, a vine, is created for some duty. For what task were you yourself created?" That one line changed Marco's life. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Women don't fall in love with what you own. They fall in love with the man who knows why he wakes up in the morning. You see, possessions fade. The car gets old. The dinners become ordinary. The gifts lose their glow. But purpose? That never stops shining. Elena wasn't looking for a provider of things. She was looking for a man on a mission. Someone with a compass. Not just a calendar. Let me ask you, what drives you right now? What would you wake up early for even if no one paid you? Is your life just a series of obligations? Or is it guided by something that matters? Because here's the truth. When a man lives with purpose, his energy changes. He walks differently, talks differently. He doesn't need to impress, because his existence is already impressive. Women feel that. They're drawn to it like gravity, not because they want to be saved, but because they want to join a man who's going somewhere. Marco eventually found his purpose not in a career shift, but in becoming a man who created, led, and served. He didn't need to chase women after that. They noticed him. So I'll ask you again, who are you without your possessions? Strip away the shoes, the car, the job title. What's left? If you don't have an answer yet, that's okay. This video is your wake-up call. Purpose isn't about impressing others. It's about aligning your life so deeply with something meaningful that women can feel your fire before you even speak. And that is far more attractive than anything money can buy. 3. Emotional presence over material gifts. Have you ever given her everything? Except yourself? You bought her flowers, took her out, texted good morning like clockwork. You were generous, thoughtful, even romantic. But somewhere along the line, she drifted away. And you were left wondering, how could she walk away when I gave her so much? Let me tell you a story. It might sound familiar. There was a man named Julian. Julian had a good heart. He wasn't rich, but he always found ways to make his girlfriend Mira feel special. On her birthday, he saved up for weeks to buy her a necklace. On Valentine's Day, he made dinner reservations, bought red roses, booked a weekend trip, and she smiled. She was grateful, but something inside her started to feel empty. You see, Mira didn't want more things. She wanted more of Julian. Not his money, not his gifts, but his mind, his attention, his presence. Julian was so busy planning the next surprise that he forgot to just be with her. When she tried to open up about her anxieties, he'd say, "Don't stress, I'll take care of it." When she had a bad day, he'd send her chocolates instead of listening. Eventually, Mira said the words no man ever wants to hear. "You're here, but you're not really here." That shattered Julian. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Know where you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." And when you learn to live in the present moment, the soul of another person feels it. Because here's what most men don't realize. Being emotionally present is the most luxurious gift you can offer. Women want to feel felt, to be seen, not just with the eyes, but with the heart. To speak and know that you're not just hearing her, but understanding her. Let me ask you something. Can you remember a moment, maybe years ago, where you sat with someone in silence and felt more connected than in hours of talking? That's presence, that's intimacy, and that's what Mira craved. A moment where Julian would put down his phone, quiet his thoughts, and just be there. No distractions, no plans, just two souls meeting in stillness. Julian eventually realized this. He stopped buying gifts to compensate. He started asking deeper questions. started holding space for silence. He began making her feel safe, not just spoiled. And you know what? That's when Mira truly fell in love. With him, not the idea of him. So I'll ask you right now, when was the last time you were truly present in your relationship? Not with your body, but with your mind, your energy, your heart. Because in the end, money buys moments, but presence builds memories. And that's what stays. Don't just show up with something in your hands. Show up with something in your soul. For integrity over image. Have you ever pretended to be someone you're not, just to keep her interested? Maybe you talked a little bigger, stood a little taller, posted a little more on social media to seem cool, in control, desirable. But deep down, you knew it wasn't the full you. Now, if you're being honest, did it work? Sure, maybe. In the beginning. But ask yourself this. Did she fall in love with you or the image of you? Let me tell you a story. There was a guy named Leo. Leo was confident, charming, well-dressed. He knew how to impress, especially online. His Instagram looked like a highlight reel of success. Gym pics, travel stories, fancy dinners. When he met Isabel, she was drawn to that aura. She thought, wow, this guy has it together. But here's the thing about images, they can't be touched. They can't be trusted. As the weeks went on, Isabel started noticing the cracks. Leo was funny, but he dodged serious conversations. He had goals, but they changed every week. He said the right things, but often didn't follow through. He looked like a man, but didn't live like one. Eventually, Isabel said something Leo would never forget. I don't need a perfect man. I need a real one. That sentence echoed in his head for weeks. Because what she craved wasn't a polished version of Leo. It was his integrity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Sounds simple, but think about it. How many times have we done the opposite, just to keep the peace? Keep the image, keep the illusion alive. But here's the truth. A woman may be attracted to your image at first, but she'll stay for your integrity. That means you do what you say. You live your values, not just post them. You don't bend who you are to fit in with what she expects, and women feel that. They may not say it out loud, but they know the difference between a man who performs and a man who is. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever had a moment where you disappointed her, not because you weren't enough, but because you weren't honest? It happens, but here's what separates the boys from the men. A man of integrity owns it. He corrects it. He becomes better, not flashier. Leo finally learned that. He stripped away the false image, deleted the things that didn't reflect his truth, and began showing up raw, honest. And that's when Isabel looked at him, not with awe, but with trust. And that's more powerful than admiration, because admiration fades. But trust builds love. So here's your challenge. Be the same man when no one's watching. Speak the truth even when it's hard. And show her, not with filters or flexes, but with consistency, character, and courage, that you're the real deal. Because at the end of the day, she doesn't want the man everyone else sees. She wants the man you truly are. 5. Resilience over riches. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt like money could solve everything in love? Maybe you thought if you just had enough cash, the right job, or the perfect lifestyle, then she'd never leave. You worked hard, chased success, bought the best gifts, yet somehow, the connection still felt fragile. That's exactly what happened to a man named Gabriel. Gabriel was a successful businessman. He had the car, the apartment, the fancy dinners, all the things society says a man needs to win a woman's heart. When he met Layla, she was dazzled at first. But over time, the glow faded. One night after an argument over something small, Layla looked at him and said quietly, "Money can't fix what's broken inside you." That hit Gabriel harder than any business failure ever had. He realized that no amount of riches could replace what truly mattered. His ability to bounce back, to stay strong in the face of hardship, to grow alongside her through life's storms. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Gabriel began to understand that resilience, not wealth, was the foundation of lasting love. You see, life will throw curveballs. She'll have bad days. You'll have failures. Challenges will come, sometimes out of nowhere. What women want, more than money, is a man who can stand firm when everything feels unstable. A man who doesn't crumble under pressure. but rises from it stronger and wiser. Let me ask you, think back on your toughest moments in love. Was it when everything was easy and perfect? Or when you faced trials and still chose to stay, to fight, to build? That's the kind of strength that money can't buy. Gabriel began sharing his fears with Layla instead of hiding them behind his success. He showed up even when he felt tired, uncertain, or overwhelmed. And Layla saw a man who was real, not perfect, but unbreakable. She loved the man who refused to give up, because at the end of the day, resilience builds trust. It builds hope. It builds a foundation no amount of riches can match. So here's the truth. Money can buy comfort, but resilience creates connection. When you master resilience, you're telling her, I will be here through the storms. I won't walk away when it gets hard. And that promise, that's priceless. 6. Peace over power. Have you ever been in a relationship where it felt like a constant battle for control? Where every conversation could easily turn into a power struggle? Who's right? Who's stronger? Who gets the final word? If you've been there, you know how exhausting it is. How draining it can feel to always be on guard, always having to win just to feel respected. Let me tell you a story about a man named Elias. Elias was strong, ambitious, and driven. He believed a man had to command respect. He thought that showing power and dominance was the key to winning a woman's heart. He pushed his opinions hard, rarely backed down, and often made decisions without asking for input. At first, his girlfriend Sophia admired his strength. She liked how decisive he was. But over time, that strength started to feel more like tension. Every disagreement became a silent war. The warmth in their conversations cooled down. One evening, after a small argument about where to eat dinner, Sophia said something Elias wasn't ready to hear. I don't want to feel like I'm competing with you. I want to feel safe. Those words hit him like a lightning bolt, because Elias realized he'd been fighting for power, but had forgotten about peace. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Elias understood that true strength isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering your own inner calm. And here's the thing. Women can feel this difference deeply. They don't want a man who controls them. They want a man who controls himself. They want a partner who can stay steady when the world shakes. They want peace, within the relationship and within the man himself. Let me ask you, when was the last time you chose peace over being right? When did you listen instead of pushing your agenda? When did you soften your tone instead of raising your voice? Imagine what would happen if you stopped trying to win every battle and instead started creating a space where both of you could win together. Elias changed. He learned to hold his power quietly, to speak softly but firmly, to listen more than he argued. He realized that peace builds love stronger than power ever could. And Sophia? She fell in love with the man who made her feel safe. Not by force, but by calm presence. So here's what you need to remember. Power is easy to show. Peace is harder to live. But peace is what creates trust. Peace is what invites closeness. Peace is what turns a relationship from a battlefield into a sanctuary. So next time you feel the urge to push, to prove, to dominate, pause. Ask yourself, is this about peace or power? Because the man who chooses peace, he is the man women secretly desire, more than money, more than status, more than anything else. Bringing it together, recap through story. So let me tell you about Lucius, a man I once read about. He wasn't rich. In fact, he lived modestly in a small village near Rome. But he followed the Stoic path. He listened more than he spoke. He stayed calm in crisis. He treated his lover not as a possession, but as a partner in virtue. He worked hard, not to impress, but because it was the right thing to do. And the woman who loved him? She once said, Lucius gives me no diamonds, but in his silence I feel seen. In his presence I feel safe. And in his strength I find peace. You see, it's not about being a prince with gold. It's about being a man with substance. Women may admire money, but they fall in love with depth. So if you want to win her heart, don't just focus on what's in your wallet. Focus on what's in your mind, your soul, your character. As Marcus Aurelius showed us, wealth fades. Looks fade, but virtue, that echoes through time. And remember, the rarest men don't just chase love. They build themselves into someone worth loving. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.